Well, welcome everyone. Thanks so much for being here with us at the World Affairs Center. World Affairs being part of Commonwealth Club World Affairs of California. I'm Michelle Miao, a member of the Board of Governors and also a producer of my program at the club, The Michelle Miao Show. It's your A through Z covering the LGBT, LMNOP, and everyone in between. Thanks for entertaining me. We are going to get started. I know people are trickling in, so give them some grace. It is our very first program here at World Affairs Center since the merge of both organizations. So we are making history during Women's History Month. Thank you. Yes. Housekeeping things, we are live streaming and we are recording for broadcast, so please silence your phones. If you need to use the restroom, it's right outside the door here, straight ahead. And here to introduce our program tonight is a special friend of ours who is going to make introductory remarks. Let's welcome Papia Gamblin with United.
Thank you, Michelle. What an amazing opportunity tonight to hear from some phenomenal, amazing leaders and women. As Michelle said, I'm Papia Gamblin. I lead government affairs at United Airlines on the West Coast. I'm based here in the Bay Area and have really enjoyed working with all of these women on a variety of issues. And tonight I wanted to share a little story about each of them and how they've touched me as we face some challenging times as women, but as we celebrate each other and this incredible month about us. So the first person I want to talk about is our amazing moderator, Nancy Tung. She and I met a number of years ago during campaign season. And what I love about Nancy, and you'll see a theme that I have with each of these women and what they mean to me personally. I've been doing politics and been in this space for about 30 years. And Nancy and I met during a campaign, and one of the things I learned from her was her passion to elevate women. She does such a good job in talking to each person that she engages with and learns about them and really connects with them, and then turns that around and helps them see how they can contribute in a way that they're comfortable and really elevates their potential. That's what I love about Nancy, and she's your moderator tonight. We also have our state controller, Malia Cohen. I met Malia during her time, our controller, during her time when she was running for County Board of Supervisor here in San Francisco. And something that she shared with me during her campaign has never left me. And it was a question she asked me. And she said, "How do you feel about yourself when you're with somebody else?" It was a grounding question. It has been something that I've used in my career ever since she's asked me. And I thank her for that question she asked me about myself so that I can reflect and learn, and how she then helped me ensure that I was a good partner and friend to those that I was working with. So I really valued that knowledge she shared with me. We also have tonight our amazing Lieutenant Governor, Eleni Kolinakis. She has been, give it up for her. She's awesome. She also has been a tremendous force in the state, as you know. She's also doing work in another campaign. I'm sure she'll talk about that. But one of the amazing things about her is her longstanding work that she has done in the community at the local level. I got to meet her when I was running a campaign of a good friend of hers who is now Assembly Member Diane Pappin. And the words of wisdom that Lieutenant Governor Kolinakis gave to me was, keep doing what you're doing because it's clearly a passion of yours. And when you follow your passion, things are going to work out. And thankfully it did. We got Assemblymember Pappin up to the state after she was our council member in San Mateo. And finally, our amazing treasurer, Fiona Ma. I love this woman. Here's why. She has always been someone that looks out for sort of the underdog. But what I really appreciate about her is she takes the time to really learn about people. And one of the things I get to do at United Airlines is obviously advance policy for the company. And she knows how important that is, the work is to me. I'm a big policy nerd. And over my time in the 5 years I've been at United, she has introduced me to amazing leaders and vendors and community leaders that can work with the company to just make the experience at United better. And that's what she does. She makes connections. She makes things happen. So that is our amazing lineup. Thank you so much for being here. Really excited to hear from all of them. And welcome.
Well, welcome everyone. Hi, Dad. That's my dad in the front. So my name is Nancy Tung. I'm your moderator tonight. I'm chair of the San Francisco Democratic Party, and here with these wonderful leaders in California, which have never been on a stage together. So not only is this a first for being in the first program in the World Affairs building of the Commonwealth World Affairs, but also the first time these three amazing women have been together on a stage. So I'm very excited. We started a little bit late, but let's just get to it. When I was talking to Eleni about this program earlier, she said, there's these offices, we call them the constitutionals. And there are 8 statewide constitutional officers. And looking back at what it looks like in terms of representation, the first statewide female elected officer was elected in 1967. And from that time up until probably 2019, of the 8 constitutional officers, only 1 or 2 were women for that entire period of time. But since 2019 and on, we have had half of our 8 constitutional officers be women. And so we have 3 of them here. So let me kick it off with Eleni. Like, what do you think has been the change that has allowed this advancement in women's representation at our statewide level?
Well, first, Nancy, let me just say it's such a pleasure to be here with you, with my friends Fiona and Malia, our great treasurer and controller, and members of the Democratic Party and the broader Commonwealth Club and World Affairs Council. And I'm glad we had that chat at the beginning because it did kind of get me thinking about that first campaign. And it was a very interesting election in 2018. It was, I think, undoubtedly the year of the woman, if there has ever been a year of the woman. And because 2016, that terrible election went the way that it did, we had the Women's March, we had just this incredible outpouring of both women candidates, women stepping forward and saying that they were going to run, and voters saying that if a woman was equally qualified for elected office, I would be more likely to vote for the equally qualified woman. It had never shown up in the polling before that cycle. So as a result, we just saw a lot of women get elected. And after you see women get into the office, it's amazing how quickly things can change and perceptions change and the idea of what leadership looks like can change. But I also want to say that even though we had this incredible support, I mean, I'd never run for office before. I was running for lieutenant governor.
That is incredible. That is a big fight, and you did a great job.
Half the time, I really did not feel like I fully had my arms around my own campaign. And then there was Fiona Ma, who had run for many offices in her life. And I had started supporting Fiona the first time when she was on the Board of Supervisors and got to know each other through John Burton. And I supported her in every one of her races, never thinking in a million years that she would be supporting me in a race, right? But without my even asking, because I didn't even know what to ask for half the time in terms of help, she understood that she was getting invited to Democratic Party events, to picnics, to Central Committee meetings, and I wasn't there. Well, because I didn't know. I wasn't on those people's radars or their lists. So she started sending us her calendar and the contact information for all these various clubs across the state. And she can tell her side of the story. But I will tell you, when you're out there running for office and you just feel like you're kind of flying blind, and you have someone who is not just like talking the talk of I'm going to help you or giving their endorsement, all of that is great, but it was actually, as they're in their own race, thinking about how they can help you in yours. It was incredibly humbling. And I tell you, it also sets the tone, because there's a multiplier effect. When Fiona acts that way, what does it do? It sets the table for how I want to go and help other women candidates. And so things really changed. And now I honestly think that in California anyway, I don't think we'll ever go back.
That's great. Let's move forward. So Fiona, tell us a little bit about your decision, like what it was like for you to be running statewide and have this other woman that was running with you, running not with you, but alongside you.
Yeah. So, I started with John Burton back in 1995, and I was his aide. And thank God, John Burton was a great mentor and supporter. But when I ran, even for my first race on the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, the women that were in office did not endorse me. And I was like, how is this? Like, why? And I kind of get it now, because the people who have been in politics are mostly men. And so when you're a woman and, everybody here has supported you, well, if your friend is running, then you tend to go, yes, I will be with you because you've been with me. And so that was my first kind of experience with women. I was thinking like women should help women. Right? It's so hard, but the women did not. And that's when Emerge started in my office. I was only the second woman at the time when Sophie Maxwell was on the Board of Supervisors. I got elected. And out of 11 members, it was 9 men and Sophie and I. And we sat next to each other, and we would just like look at all the guys fighting with each other, right? And Sophie and I would just like always stick together. And then when Kamala, at that time, Kamala was running for district attorney, and because I was the outsider and nobody really endorsed me or helped me, when Kamala ran, I was like, I'm going to support Kamala. She's a woman of color, why not? And so I kind of have grown up that way in terms of supporting people because they're outside or they're the underdog. Anyway, when Eleni decided to run, I don't know how many people told me, do not endorse Eleni. And I'm like, why not? We've known each other 20 years. Well, she's going to run against you someday. And I go, good for us. Good for us if we're going to run against each other, So I don't really feel like that. And we've worked it out. We're all running and we're still supporting each other. And we just kind of find each other's way. But Shirley Weber, Eleni, Malia, and I, we stick together. And we really want to make sure that we keep this, it's at least 50% of the, of the constitutional officers in California. And that's a big deal because it's not like that in other states. So
Malia, how was it for you, coming into this constitutional sisterhood when you were elected statewide?
I want to lend my voice. Thank you for giving us a platform. Thank you for coming and showing up. I, too, credit Fiona. And it's appropriate that she sits in the middle because we are, in many ways, offsprings of her leadership and her leadership style. And the mentorship is absolutely critical. That is how women, as well as people, but that's how they evolve and that's how they mature. And I first met Fiona, and forgive the informalities. We're just gonna call each other by our first name. Forget about the titles, all that stuff. So Fiona was running for re-election? The fundraiser, I can't remember she was on the Board of Supervisors and running for Assembly. And our mutual friend said, you should do a fundraiser for Fiona, and I did. And I was so proud of myself. I raised $5,000. Thank you. Woo! That was really hard to do at that time. And maybe it was 10,000, 5 or 10,000. It was 5? Okay. Well, thank you. But I learned a lot in that experience, and subsequently as a result of that, she was successful. She put me on the first position I ever ran for was a delegate on her slate. And I consider Fiona to be one of my political godmothers. This is true. This is a woman that does open up the doors for you. In addition to sending calendar advice, she's like, oh, you need to talk to so-and-so. You need to do this. Don't waste your time on so-and-so. They won't give you anything. I mean, you need those real conversations because you have a finite amount of time, a finite amount of energy. You cannot move in that way. So what does it mean to be a constitutional officer? Well, I came to my constitutionalship as a new mother, and I credit Eleni Kounalakis for actually bolstering me up and convincing me that I could do it, that I could run and win and still have an infant and still nurse and still legislate and still advocate and still come home and like do it all. And there were a couple pieces that I filled in, but she's always been there to be that cheerleader. So these are just examples of the sisterhood of how it works. It's more than just what you see sitting here on the stage. This is a representation of deep mutual respect, of helping each other. And I have a theory that in the beginning, when Fiona was getting started in her own career, women were not helping each other because there were so few of them. There was no example. There was no one to model what it looks like and how to help. And the women, when they're in office, you often feel vulnerable. Like your ship can take on water any moment. So there isn't a sense of stability. I was joking with the ladies backstage. I mean, Papia was saying, amazing women. I was thinking, are we really that amazing? Women who have made it. I was like, have we made it? I don't know if we've made it. I said we're making it, yes. And by doing so, we're inspiring and uplifting other women that are coming through the pipeline. That pipeline is absolutely critical. You will see interns around us all the time. You will see us hiring women, not only to be consultants, but also to be pollsters, to be thought leaders, because the political game, what you see right here are just the electeds. There's a whole industry of people that stand behind us and help shape our image, help shape our fundraising capabilities, help building the pipeline. We were talking about what are next steps, and Eleni said, "Oh, I have a whole plan for you, Malia." I mean, that is love, and that is welcomed. And so this is just a representation of, yes, we have prowess, meaning we have all created legislation, we have fought, we are battle tested, and most times the smartest ones in the room, certainly in our respective fields, and we have that blend of the experience. So I think being a constitutional office in this particular time, defeating the Trump attacks makes California more rich in our collective experience. And we're not gatekeeping. We are sharing. We are bringing people to the table. We want more folks in the pipeline. And so we are thoughtful about our endorsements and whom we support. Like you said, candidates that we support may not actually win, but it means something to know that the treasurer, lieutenant governor, the controller has supporting you. It meant something to me as a first-time candidate to know that I had Fiona Ma's support, because that generates momentum. And that is one thing I think the Boys Network has taught us, or at least it's taught me, and that momentum begets momentum, and that an object in motion will stay in motion. So you have to start at the base, and oftentimes that is with your sisters.
So how much do you think, because I know that Malia is a graduate, you're a graduate, I'm a graduate of Emerge. I think, Fiona, you were a pioneer before Emerge was around, but it's a training program for women who want to enter into politics or adjacent to politics in the consulting field or supporting women who are running for office. How much do you think training programs like these, centered on training women for office, has contributed to the rise of women getting elected?
Yeah, I'll just say that when I was on the board and I was the only second woman, Andrea Deuce-Steele came to my office and said, "How come there are not more women?" And I said, well, there's no one for us to really, to guide us, to train us. And that's when she started Emerge. Similarly, Apapa also started at the same time because CC Yin said, "Why are you the only Asian?" And I said, same thing. Like, we don't have a lot of Asians or women. So I do think, now that Emerge, I remember when Emerge started, I would go and speak, and I said, if you graduate from Emerge, I will endorse you. I don't care. The fact that you took the time, you're serious, you graduate, I will endorse you. Now, of course, there's 2 or 3 Emerge graduates running against each other. So sometimes I endorse all 3, but it really does make a difference because the sisterhood is like, a sorority almost. The guys have had fraternities, they have their golf networks, their cigar, clubs, they go fishing together, they hang out. And we don't have that really in politics. So I think Emerge and all the other programs, Elect Her and
Fund Her.
Fund Her. There's so many now that
Close the Gap.
Yep, that are really making a difference. And that's why the legislature is also, I think, 50% now women because of all of the, the support and the focus on getting more women into the pipeline.
I also think that Emerge has done a good job of understanding the psychology of women, of how we make decisions, and understanding that and saying, okay, women will exclude themselves or unselect themselves from actually running for office because they believe that they do not have the experience. Okay, we're going to take that excuse away from them. We're going to give them experience. We're going to introduce them to other folks that are running for office. And within the Emerge network, this is Emerge California specifically, you're not only dealing with women, but also there are men that are our allies that are part of this, and they are just as important as this. But the curriculum, the training, it demystifies how to run for office. One of the things statistically, when you poll women, they don't think they're qualified. You have to ask 6 times. We know this, so we ask all the time. You want to run for office? You do? Great. You don't? Be proud. Hold up. Whenever I'm speaking, I'm always asking that question. How many women in here think about running for office? How many women in here actually have a plan to run for office? It's a training ground, how to talk to the media, how to field and be in uncomfortable situations, how to give your voice power, understanding the physiology that's going on in your body, why you are nervous. Your blood is leaving your extremities, going into your head, your heart is racing. I mean, there are techniques to overcome this. This is what we're teaching women, in addition to how to put together a kitchen cabinet, how to evaluate a consultant and their proposal to work with you. So I'm not only an Emerge graduate, but I also spent time on the board where Poppy and I actually served together. And so understand also the dynamics of the application process, vetting women, looking and seeing potentials. I mean, there's some key things, and there's people who have it immediately, and there's people that you can see that they're a diamond in the rough and that they just need a little bit more development. And so recognizing that, but never losing sight of the overall mission, and that mission is to get women elected, period.
So there are 2 constitutional offices that have never had a woman serve. One of them is insurance commissioner.
We're working on that.
Yeah. And the other one is governor.
Working on that too.
So what do you think about, what do you think it's going to take for a woman to break through to lead our state? Do you think we're on the precipice of that?
Absolutely. I mean, even in the gubernatorial election now, as we speak, there are 2 women in the race, and I believe that when you still see women volunteering to put themselves out there, that also softens the political psyche. Okay. We've seen a woman on a debate stage. It's not the first time by any means. I believe it's only a matter of time before a woman is elected. Now, as it comes to an insurance commissioner, there is a woman in the race, Jane Kim, former San Francisco supervisor. I'm supporting her, and that is certainly my candidate that I'm elevating. But the network that we're talking about still needs to remember, people see women as members of the Board of Education. People can see women as a legislator. We are still fashioning their vision to see women as a governor, on the executive side. And we are on the executive side now. So this is an example, I would say, of what the future has for us. California most certainly will have a governor that will be a woman, and we will have multiple.
So I agree 100% that it's coming. But I also think that races are opportunistic. Every campaign is going to have its own particular elements that will really lay the foundation for which candidate is more or less likely to be able to do well. And very specifically, and I think I can speak to this because Lieutenant Governor of California, and I did have a campaign for governor, and I'm very candid about this. I had incredible amount of momentum until Trump got reelected. And there was this real shift. And it was so interesting because the first time he was elected, there was this blowback of elect women. The second time when he came back, something really changed. And I couldn't put my finger on what it was, but I felt it quite viscerally that the leadership that I would bring to the table as someone who had been a businesswoman for almost 20 years building housing, as someone who had been a diplomat, as someone who broke a glass ceiling by becoming the first woman elected lieutenant governor. But generally, you know, I'm not a firebrand at the podium. That isn't my background. That isn't my that's just not my profile. And it seemed as though what people were looking for was something more like that. And so at the same time, I think that we're also seeing, and I don't think that I or really anyone could have predicted it, was this incredible fractionalization now among exactly what do people want in the next governor. And I will tell you this as well. Governor Newsom emerging so powerfully on the national scene, I think has also made it really difficult for gubernatorial candidates to break through, because instead of being sort of final days of being governor, he's now on an upward trajectory. And so people are looking at who is going to be the one to fill those shoes. And I think that changed things as well. So the first time that I ran, I took an extraordinary risk. I had no reason to believe whatsoever that I could be elected in that case, and I didn't care that I could lose. I didn't care that I didn't know how I was going to win. I was just going to do it, and whatever was going to happen was going to happen. This time, even though I didn't know how I could do it, I also knew a lot more. And my own determination was that there was this other office, the Office of State Treasurer, which was really important, and really important that someone who had the skills that I brought to the table, really coincidentally almost, that I have 20 years of housing, and that housing, the Affordable Housing Tax Credit Program and bond financing program, which again, Fiona has been walking me through to build a better understanding of how that piece of it works. But I have this unique set of experience. There was nobody else running who I thought could fill her shoes. And so it seemed like just the perfect fit for me. And so what we're left with then is at least one fewer woman in the race this time. But I also think that that's what's very important to remember, is that it isn't just this question of, can a woman run in this way to be governor? It's in that exact race, what is the right profile of the right woman that we could all get behind and put forward? And who knows, maybe it will be Katie Porter. Maybe it will be, certainly my friend who I was proud to work with Betty Yee, extraordinary credentials that Betty Yee has. So it's hard to say, but I do think it's important to remember that there's sort of the big picture of women running and winning, but there's also the practical level of matching the skill set of the female candidate to the office at a time when you can get a sense of what voters are looking for. And I'm going to say one more piece of this, because we're looking at women running in congressional races. It used to be, a mayor or with a law degree was sort of the woman who would look like a good candidate for Congress. Now we see all these women who are helicopter pilots and have national security experience. So I think it is important to remember that those factors are drive the ability of a woman to succeed as well.
It's a timing issue.
Well, people always ask me, is it harder that you're an Asian or that you're a woman in politics? By far, a woman. Okay? That's just the way it is. Eleni is the first female lieutenant governor since 1849. Come on. This is California.
Doesn't mean we had one in 1849.
No.
when this-
We haven't had one. I mean, Mona was appointed, and I have to say, when I saw Mona in the lieutenant governor's office, I never thought I was going to run statewide. And when I saw Mona there, I was like, girl, you're there. Maybe I can do it. So it does take other people breaking those barriers and opening up those doors. So, the fact that she is the first lieutenant governor, hopefully I'll be the second elected lieutenant governor and then third lieutenant, that's, we're going to open the door. And, one of these days, maybe in our lifetime, we'll have a woman governor.
I guess that they're mapping out your plan, Malia.
I told you they had a plan.
Yeah.
They have a plan for me.
So I want to shift slightly because I think this is something a timely conversation to have, and it is regarding where women can also be very vulnerable in situations with men who have power. And right now I'm talking about what everybody has been talking about this week, revelations about the abuse of children and women in the labor movement that was perpetrated by Cesar Chavez. And the fact that people stayed silent for so long, survivors stayed silent for so long. This is not uncommon in political spaces as well. And so I guess my question is, what obligation do we have, and how can we make political spaces safe for people and help them feel safe to come forward if somebody has been a bad actor?
Well, I think in that situation, right, you see my grandmother, my mother, they probably went through things, but they didn't want to say, okay? Because when you do come out, if you do not feel protected or supported, then you're going to be alienated. And women, I mean, that is a real, a real fear of ours. But I think now with the whole Me Too movement, more women coming forward, I think things are changing. And so it is up to women like us and men as well to provide that venue to report, to feel supportive, to believe instead of, poo-pooing that, they're not telling the truth or find proof. I mean, we know it happens, and we know it's continuing to happen today. So, it's all up to all of us to really support one another. And I think what's happening today is different than what would have happened, 50 years ago in terms of, talking about and exposing and supporting the victims.
I also want to give a little voice to this and commend Dolores Huerta, who, as I believe, has nothing to gain or lose, and her telling her truth. And she, having the courage to tell her truth, allowed other victims of the same sexual assault of that era to come out and tell their truth. And I believe that is a compliment about the times where we are in, where women are feeling strong enough and empowered enough to come out and say, this happened to me. Because we woke up one morning and these accusations, it rocked me to the core. I know it had a tremendous impact on the Latino community overall. But we recognize that at the time when crimes were committed, violations were committed, that it was tolerated. And there were many people, men and women, complicit in burying the truth, hiding the truth, and trying to move beyond the truth. And so now we are in 2026, the truth is coming out. I think there's a sobering moment, and also something maybe we could even remotely celebrate, that we are in a place where people can come out. But that's not to say that we still don't have work to do. I also want to comment that the farm worker movement, in many ways, probably allowed us to be here on the stage, to be in this space, rallying, and the movement was about more than just the man. And I think in this pivotal moment, I think we need to remind ourselves of that. And I'm grateful that the truth is coming out. And I believe that there'll be more conversation, more interviews, more documentation, and opportunities for us to grow as a community. I see you've got your children here. Yeah. Really important, right? So that when they grow up, these issues that we are dealing with will be eradicated, won't be around. And that your boys, who are peers with my daughter, your boys will be allies. When they see some violation happening to a woman, that they have the courage to stand up and say, stop, no, come with me. I believe you. Let me help you. And that is, I think, a compliment to where we are today.
Can I add one little piece of this? There's this whole conversation going on about how, all right, if we're not going to be calling it Cesar Chavez Day or Cesar Chavez School or Cesar Chavez Boulevard, it should just be the farm worker, fill in the blank, because it's about the movement, not about the leader. And I think that it is true. It is about the movement and not about the leader. But isn't it interesting when you have a leader like Dolores Huerta, suddenly there's an argument not to name it all after her. I encourage everyone to see the documentary that came out a couple of years about Dolores. She was an equal partner. And in one of the interviews that's in this documentary, she's sitting with Cesar Chavez, they're asking questions, and the interviewer said, Cesar, why did you choose Dolores to help you lead this movement? And he said, oh no, she was doing this work even longer than me. So I, for one, am very much standing behind the idea that we should be naming absolutely as much as we possibly can about Dolores Huerta. She was undisputedly a equal leader in that movement. For too long was not given the representation. And this is the moment to fix that, in my opinion. This is the moment and the opportunity. And it just feels like it's yet another example where so few women in history are written into history by name out in front. And we have an opportunity to do it this time. And I really hope we do.
She's absolutely incredible. She's a force of nature. So we have 11 more minutes. And so we'll just do a small question like, what do you think your role here in California, what you've done in office, what do you look forward to in the future in terms of shaping the future of California? Sure.
Okay. So I'm the state controller. In my job, I sit on 70 different boards and commissions. My job is to ensure that the money that is leaving the state account, the state treasury, is going in the right place. And also to audit and to root out any fraud any waste, any kind of abuse. So for me, when I look into the next future, when I look at what I'd like to do within the next 4 years, is to ensure that we are bringing in technology tools that are going to increase our efficiency, to continue to protect people's very important financial data, and to also increase our the red flags. My job is to make sure that there are guardrails in place and that good accounting practices are set for all agencies across the entire state of California. And I want to make sure that we are using cutting edge technology and tools in order to do that. And I also want to ensure that we are being transparent about what we are doing. So I would like everyone in this audience to be able to look and see the state's checkbook, and so that you will know where resources are being allocated, how, who's getting what, how much, who the vendors are qualified. And so that is a huge technology project that we are undertaking, and hopefully I will be able to deliver that in 4 years.
That's great. Fiona?
So we are the goddesses of fortune. I take in the money. I'm the banker. She spends the money. So state treasurer, I take in $3 trillion. All of the revenues come through my office. I send whatever the controller needs to pay the bills. I invest whatever is sitting in our account every single day. It's about $160 billion. We generate about $17 million a day for the state of California. I issue all the bonds for the state as well as the UC and CSU systems, and then fund and finance affordable housing, schools, hospitals, public transportation, green energy, advanced manufacturing, small businesses, and I have 4 savings programs.
That's all. That's all.
it.
All in a day. That's it.
So I am an executive. I have 550 people. I worry every single day. But I started out on the San Francisco Board of Supervisors back in 2002, 4 years, State Assembly, 6 years, State Board of Equalization, 4 years, and now going into my 8 years as State Treasurer. So I'm not ready to quit. I think now it's more important to have experienced, qualified people who have been through it. I've been through 3 downturns, deficits, so I know what's real. I know what is not real, how to get us out of it. And more importantly, I think for the next 4 years, I'm looking forward to not having to, be the executive sitting in the office every single day, worried about our finances, worried about our payroll, worried about our personnel, our programs.
Make Lenny do that, right?
So yes, so Lenny is going to do that. And I want to work on big picture items. It's like having the time now that I don't have to, run bills, and I don't have to show up, every week to chair meetings, that I want to work on big things like long-term care funding. We're all living a lot longer these days. We did a study in the legislature with 5 possible, programs, and we're kind of waiting. So someone needs to lead that. Working on trying to overturn the cannabis initiative. Prop 64 was a complete failure. We were the leaders in cannabis, and now we have decimated our whole industry. Working on fentanyl awareness, because people are ordering more things off the internet, and a lot of it is tainted. So I have a lot of things that I want to work with the community and try to tackle some of the big problems. But I think, for me, after my 4 years, I want to be the 3rd largest economy in the world. So it'll be the U.S., China, and then California, surpassing
Germany.
Sorry, Germany. I'm going to Germany in November to check it out to see whether we can really pass them. And then the next 4 years, I don't want to hear the word Texas.
Texas or taxes?
Texas.
Oh, yeah.
Texas. We're all going to have taxes, but Texas. I want everyone to be like, we love California. We're coming back to California. We love what California represents. So that's what I'm going to be working on.
Great. Lenny?
So India is nipping at our heels. Hard to say whether or not we could get there, but it is an incredible thing that California's economy is as massive as it is, and that it is as interconnected internationally. So right after I was elected, the governor asked if I would serve as California's representative for international affairs and trade. Governor generally is too busy to meet with prime ministers and presidents and delegations from around the world who come here, but it happens all the time. And so you have to start as lieutenant governor with a trusting relationship with the governor. It's really, really important. California is this, one of the states where you run separately. It's 2 separate constitutional offices. Starting with the foundation of a strong relationship is so critical. And because I had that relationship with the governor, we were able to establish that from the beginning. I have no doubt that Fiona will be able to do the same with whoever the next governor is, because she will bring so much expertise to the table. What I have been really very proud of is that work in growing the economy through luring more foreign direct investment into the state and supporting programs to increase our exports. I have been very proud of some of the work that I did down on the border with building a new border crossing at Otay Mesa East, cleaning up the horrible pollution down on the Tijuana River. And what I'm really most looking forward to is taking that macro experience and supporting the California economy, and actually in this kind of switching of positions, which is really unusual. I mean, this has never happened before. But being able to hone the more specific investments of the state as the state treasurer. I also have learned so much from Fiona about these Great Savers programs that she mentioned. One of them is the, people think of it as under the rubric of baby bonds, but every child born in California since 2022 automatically has a savings account that's been open for them, from $100 to $1,500, or maybe even more if they're foster kids and some of the other categories. But a lot of families, in spite of Herculean efforts, still a lot of families don't know that they have these accounts for their children. So to go from 0 to 20% when you're talking about millions of accounts being open is a huge deal, but it's going to be up to the next treasurer to continue the work of the treasurer. So, focusing on strengthening our investments, finding new ways to invest with having the liquidity that we need, having manage the risk appropriately while still getting the highest possible returns that we can is really an important part of the job. And I look forward to taking that on.
Well, that's great. Do we have time for maybe one question?
Well, we started a little after. I know Lieutenant Governor does need to run, but if we have a few minutes, we can take some questions.
Hi all, my name is Lila. I'm actually in the Emerge program right now. And we were in our welcome weekend in January when Alex Preddy was murdered in Minnesota. And so my question is around, we were all grappling with, here we are, pro-women, trying to, make our little change, do what we can. And the scale and the gravity of what was going on around us, the amount of dissonance a lot of us were feeling was really intense. And just kind of wondering if you can talk about your experience, especially it sounds like you all started more on the local level. How do you grapple with the kind of impact you are being practical about and trying to change, but also the scale of what it is we're facing right now?
Okay, well, we're going to say goodbye to our Lieutenant Governor, but
I want you to be able to continue, but unfortunately I have a commitment. That is a big question and really important, and I think these two are going to do a very good job answering it.
Yeah. Thank you. Over the years, there have been international issues, and so they will ask us, hey, you need to weigh in, and sometimes I don't feel the need to weigh in because we have Nancy Pelosi, who's in Congress. We have Jackie Spear. There's, I feel like sometimes we have to stay in our lane, because if we are all in each other's lane, it is very, very chaotic. And that's when you need to trust, who is there, that they are going to do their due diligence and make the appropriate comment. And a lot of times things happen in the news and it may not necessarily be real. So sometimes we all jump to conclusions, but unless you are in the room, getting briefed with the real facts, I think sometimes, elected officials, we shouldn't be making comments unless we really know what we are saying. So I'm very deliberate of when I come out to say things. If it's definitely something I know, I can stand behind, I can prove, then yes, I am going to be the first one to make that. If I am not, I kind of sometimes want to hear from, the people who are closer to the issue, because you don't want to be out there saying something and then retracting, because there's more things that come out that you did not wait and really listen, right? And here in the United States, you're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. And so if you're not guilty yet, then, I believe that we need to take a step back. As elected officials, I also believe we live in glass houses. So if I'm going to go and comment and negatively, say things about other elected officials, trust me, when it's my time, they are all going to pile on. And we see that a lot. And I think as women, we really try to, make sure when we do come out that we are saying it with authority, because otherwise, trust me, they love to pile on us, okay? We are always held to a higher standard, a double standard most of the time. And if you leave that door just a little bit open, trust me, it's very, very easy to take someone down when the momentum is there. And I think for us, we have been here a long time because we don't do that. We really try to be supportive. We try to be, deliberative, because if we are in the middle of all the fights, the guys can do that. They can be in the middle of all the fights all the time. They get a grace period. They have latitude. We do not get the same latitude.
Yes, and I understand the feeling, the helplessness that you felt, that we all felt. I felt it too, when I saw a good Samaritan, a nurse, coming to defense of another person be killed at the hands of the government. And there are several moments in our recent history. You think about George Floyd, Sandra Bland. There are many moments now, Columbine, that are been flashpoints that have changed people's minds, changed the trajectory. So as a result of that, there are many women that are going to run for office, particularly Congress. I believe we need to be very strategic about it, because running for Congress, earning a seat, does not give you a chairpersonship over specific chairs, does not automatically mean that you will have influence in President Trump or any member, President Trump's policy and worldview. But filling the pipeline, whether you're running for a water board, school district, city college trustee, mayor, assembly, senate, constitutional office, is I believe where the game changes. Filling that pipeline full of qualified people, in this case, for this conversation, emerge, women, and because these candidates will mature and move on up into the ranks and run for higher office. So as we sat here confident saying that there will be another woman, or there will be a woman that will be governor, there will be a woman that is going to run for president of the United States. It will happen. It's inevitable, in my opinion, just by the numbers. And so let me tell you what I have done, what Fiona and I both have done in our positions to hold back the Trump administration. Now, it's not as sexy and glamorous, and it may not get the media's attention, but it is staying in our lane. We are fiduciary. We are responsible for California's economy, which we've already established as the fourth largest economy in the world. So when we speak, people listen. You see the volatility of the markets and the fluctuations from the geopolitical craziness in the world, right? Well, we are standing up and signing on to letters, mostly Democratic treasurers and controllers, saying, Trump, this is wrong. You are disrupting our economy. You are hampering our ability to pay for important public services, to pay for retirees, to grow our economy. And so we're staying in our lane, like the treasurer said, but also standing up. Now, the media may not cover it. Well, Bloomberg did. But the Financial Times covered it. But that is another way that we are still in our lane, that we are still standing up. So there are efforts that are happening like this in water districts, right? The Trump administration has invoked the War Powers Act and has sanctioned oil producing rigs in Southern California to get back into production. And certainly I do. I sit on State Lands Commission. But the lieutenant governor sits on it with me. State Lands Commission is in charge of the our resources, our public our environmental resources. So standing and holding the line, along with the governor, along with Rob Bonta, our attorney general. So this is, again, a small example, real time. It happened just last week. So there are things that are happening that we are in positions of power to hold the line and push back on the Trump administration. And as you know, our AG has done a phenomenal job of suing and winning these crazy edicts that keep coming from the White House. Now, as you can see, I'm very much a Democrat. I don't support Donald Trump. I don't want to offend anyone because statistically speaking, there's one or two Trumpers in this room. Statistically speaking, okay? But to answer your question is the Alex incident and the other incidents that have happened in the past are seared in our memory forever. We are living in a time that Malcolm is going to read about in a history book. He's looking around like,
You.
yeah, you. That our children and our grandchildren are going to be like, God, did you live through this? What was it like? For me, civil rights movement, right? I'm talking to my grandparents, like, what was it like? What did you do? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, my grandfather told me what he did when he was a longshoreman. My father talked about his recollection of Martin Luther King when he was growing up, the killing of John F. Kennedy. So there are moments that our young people, our future generations are going to read about. And for everyone in this room, the question is, how did you respond?
And we all respond differently, right? We're showing up at the rallies. We're showing up at the picket lines. We're, defending on social media. We all have a role. And I think in California, we're special because we are really a team, a team effort, right? So when we are getting attacked, first line of defense is usually the governor, and then attorney general says, I'm going to sue. That gives us time to figure out whether it's real or not, whether it's easy to defund us or claw the money back. If not, we're working to figure out how to,
move the money to pay for the lawsuit.
To pay, do we have extra money? Can we put it here? How do we, make sure like Planned Parenthood clinics don't close? I mean, that's our job. So we all understand, kind of our place. I always use a sports analogy, right? If you are playing soccer or basketball or football and you're supposed to throw to your teammate, but your teammate's not there because they're playing some other position. That is not helpful, but that's why California's strong. And that's why we have gone from the 7th largest economy in the world 7 years ago to the 4th largest, because we do stick together, we do trust each other, we work together, and we kind of know our roles. And so, it's just been an honor to be here at this time, serving as a constitutional office in the state of California. It's not going to be easy over the next 3 years, but I feel like we'll make it through.
Great.
Do you want to take one quick one? One last one?
Is there one more question?
Maybe directed to just one of our distinguished honorable speakers. One last one? No? Well, right here. Yes.
Well, you brought up Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta earlier and the Me Too movement. And I've been really... shocked like everyone else and taken it back. But I was also really shocked by the swiftness and kind of proud. The swiftness of the response. What is your take on how swift the response and reaction has been?
Well, I feel like there is a heightened sense, right? Like with Epstein right now, I mean, people are not doubting as much or waiting, and having Dolores come out and talk, as the icon that she is, I think has also added to that swiftness. But yes, I am a little bit happily surprised that some of the events are canceling or they're going to rename. But yeah, I think times have definitely changed.
Yeah, I would credit Dolores Huerta for the speed with which people responded, because she herself is an icon of the movement, and she essentially lent her credibility for the work that she had done over many decades to these other women who were brave enough to come forward. And the fact that Dolores Huerta not only lent her name to it, but also, divulged the circumstances that happened to her, that she was raped, that she had 2 children because of those encounters. I think it didn't leave any room for doubt for people to say, like, well, let's pump the brakes. Is this really true? Is it an allegation? Because there's not going to be any criminal trial. Cesar Chavez died in 1993. But I really do think that it is the bravery of Dolores Huerta, who, as you said, had nothing to gain by doing this. She is really a champion here. And again, she is a survivor. And she has become, I think, even more of an icon than she already was, because she's become a role model for how survivors can move forward through their pain.
You can catch this program. You can share it at commonwealthclub.org. We'll post this program a little sooner. And as Nancy said, there is a nice little reception. We have some icy cold refreshments for you, both with fun and then also pleasurable for our young friends as well. So stick around. We have more events coming up, more programs. And as you now know, right, we have a program here at the World Affairs Center. We also have programs at our main location, 110 the Embarcadero. So if you'd like to check us out, head to commonwealthclub.org. I'm Michelle Meow. We'll see you next time.